All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. Now, after scoring 42 points last Sunday in a road loss to the Los Angeles Rams, today the Buffalo Bills were tasked with trying to become just the second team this season to beat the Detroit Lions. And that is exactly what the Bills were able to do is they got the best of the Lions this evening by the score of 48-42. Now, the early statement that was made by the Bills in this game is they scored a pair of touchdowns in the first quarter to go up 14 to nothing. And that was important because in doing so, Buffalo was able to keep Detroit in chase mode all game long because the Lions never led. On a personal standpoint, to me, I do believe that the MVP race right now in the NFL is between Bills quarterback Josh Allen and Philadelphia Eagles running back Saquon Barkley. And Allen just added to his chances today with this monster performance against the Lions. We're talking about Josh Allen going 23 of 34 passing for 362 with a pair of passing touchdowns and then 68 more yards on the ground to go along with two rushing touchdowns. And kudos to the Buffalo Bills because they are the only team this season to defeat the Kansas City Chiefs so far. And then they just handed the Lions only their second loss of the season. It's the Bills and the Bucks, the only teams that have beaten the Lions, and subsequently, both of those losses for Detroit came at home. But nonetheless, with how Buffalo was super aggressive against arguably the most aggressive team in the NFL today, and they kept them in chase mode at a couple of points. They were up by 17 in the second half. They did something that hasn't been done for a couple of years. They made Ford Field and the Motor City quiet. And if you've watched the Lions in recent years, Ford Field can get very loud. And honestly, for me, it's reminiscent of how the Silver Dome in Pontiac used to be for the Lions when the great Barry Sanders was a running back. But nonetheless, that building got eerily quiet in the second half of this contest, and kudos to that to this Buffalo offense. Now, yes, the Bills have been close in recent years because we're talking about a team that has made the postseason in six out of the last 7 years. And of course, now we're going to be talking about seven out of the last eight. But unfortunately for Buffalo, they've been unable to get over that hump. Three of those six eliminations from the postseason for the Bills have come courtesy of the Kansas City Chiefs. And most notably, like I said, the biggest reason for the Bills' struggles in January is their inability to beat the Chiefs that month. So you have to ask yourself, will things be different this year for Buffalo? We still got to wait and see. There's still plenty of football left. I mean, we're talking about 3 more weeks of the regular season before we get to the postseason. But you have to like the way that the Bills are playing. Clearly, they are once again in contention. Okay, they've been in this spot before, but I personally feel that there is just something different about Josh Allen, and there's something different about this team overall from Western New York. It's one of those where first things first, you look at them offensively, you look at this team as a whole. They're not loaded with the big names like they have been in years past. And I feel like more than ever, or more than in a while at least, this Bills team is kind of like a band of brothers. Everybody has bought in to what Sean McDermott is selling. Everybody is on the same page offensively with quarterback Josh Allen. And I think this team feeds off of what Josh Allen has been doing this season. And Josh Allen, for me, I think he's really taken his game to another level. And in doing so, I think he's enhanced Buffalo's chances. But nonetheless, for Josh Allen and Buffalo, it's still going to come down to what they can or cannot do next month in the postseason. And more than likely, they know in order to get out of the AFC and get to the Super Bowl, they're going to have to go through the Chiefs. But nonetheless, with the Bills and the fact that where Christmas is right around the corner, the playoffs, of course, are right around the corner, and this is when you want to be playing your best football, which is what Buffalo is doing right now. I know that they had the hiccup last week against the Rams, and that was one of those games where kind of like the first team to punt is going to lose. And literally, Buffalo did have a punt blocked and returned for a touchdown in that game. But Buffalo is really going out there and they're taking care of their business. All three of their losses so far this season have come on the road. They got blown out in week 4, courtesy of the Baltimore Ravens. They lost a tough one in week 5 on the road to the Houston Texans, and then last week against the Rams. And you look at their schedule for the rest of the season. They've already clinched the AFC East. They are sitting second in the AFC overall, 2 games behind Kansas City. With 3 games to go, it's going to be very tough for the Bills to catch the Chiefs. Last week's loss was really tough for them in that category because the Chiefs simply don't lose. And I know, we got to wait and see the diagnosis of the Patrick Mahomes injury from today. Another Chiefs win against the Browns. But nonetheless, even with that said, I don't see the likelihood of Kansas City losing 2 more games in order for Buffalo to catch them for that top spot, which means more than likely, if you're the Bills, of course, if you're every other team in the AFC heading to the postseason, you've got to go through those guys at Arrowhead. But nonetheless, Buffalo's playing some good football. And you look at the way that this regular season ends for Buffalo. They've got the Patriots twice in the next 3 weeks. They host them this Sunday afternoon, and then they finish up on the road in Foxborough. And then, of course, sandwiched in between that is a home game for the Bills against the Jets. And this was supposed to be a game that was going to decide the AFC East for this season. And of course, Buffalo has held up their end of the bargain. Cannot say the same for the Jets as the season can't end quick enough for them. And of course, the second season is about to begin for the Bills. But nonetheless, big statement today for the Bills. I like how they bounced back. And, last week's loss to the Rams was tough. Clearly, you played good offensively, but you just couldn't make those stops. And then you got to make that cross country flight back home from California to Western New York after that tough loss. And they bounced back on a very short trip from Buffalo to Detroit, and they took care of their business against a team that only had one loss coming into today's action. This team is looking good right now. I like their chances in the postseason. I'm going to give them a puncher's chance, especially the way that they're playing right now, and they got to try to keep that momentum going. They've been close in years past, have these Buffalo Bills. Will things change for Buffalo and Josh Allen come January? We got to wait and see. But nonetheless, for the sake of argument, let's say the Buffalo does face Kansas City again in the postseason. They've been right there. It's been a play here and it's been a play there. That's basically what has separated the Bills from getting over that hump against the Kansas City Chiefs. That's probably what it's going to come down to again because all of these games have been close. You go back to when Buffalo beat Kansas City earlier this season. It came down to a couple of plays, and for Buffalo's sake, they made them. In recent years, we've seen Buffalo make those plays in the regular season to get the best of the Chiefs. But the Chiefs, of course, always come back in January in the playoffs, and they find a way to make those plays, and the Bills don't. But nonetheless, getting back to today, Bills look good. They're on a roll, or they got back after last week's loss, and let's see if they can get back on a roll. They're still on a roll offensively, but let's see if they can get back on a roll overall, finish this regular season strong, and let's see how that momentum carries over, or will it carry over for them into the postseason, even if they don't get the first seed, and they're the second seed. I still think it bodes well for Buffalo because when they have the momentum like this, you don't have that off week anymore, and now you can try to keep that momentum going in front of a raucous crowd up there in Orchard Park. So let's see what the Bills can do. But nonetheless, big time statement for the Buffalo Bills today on the road in Detroit, and let's see how things bode for them as they look to finish the regular season on a positive note and carry that momentum over into January. But folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank each and every one of you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast. here on YouTube. I want to take this time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you have not already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on the X, formerly known as Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it will be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. Now you can check it out. Drop a line and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So, once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin, and I am signing off. And I'm saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.